the business podcast that gives you everything we got so you can have the business you need with our daily 10-minute business lessons for the real world. I'm your host, your coach, your teacher, Omar Zenhom. I'm also the co-founder of the $100 MBA, a complete business training and community online. And in today's lesson, you will learn how often should you have meetings. A lot of people ask this question: how often do you need to meet with your team? How long do you meet for? How do you structure these meetings? Are too many meetings a bad idea? I get into all these details. This is so important because communication in your business is essential. You also need to just make sure that everybody's just getting on with the work as well. And this topic is important even if you have a very small team, even if it's just you and somebody else. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's get down to business. Today's episode of the $100 MBA Show is sponsored by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, check out Braintree. With one simple integration, you can offer your customers every way to pay, period. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions completely fee-free, go to BraintreePayments.com/MBA. That's BraintreePayments.com/MBA. There's a few things I want to address before I get into the nitty-gritty details of this lesson. First of all, this lesson is going to be based on a small team. If you have a team of 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 people, it doesn't matter if they're in a physical office or they're working with you virtually. Even if you have a large team, 50, 60, 100 employees, you're still going to be meeting with small amounts of people. These could be your managers, the people that manage different departments. So it'll be applicable for you even when you grow. The second thing I want to address is that there are 2 types of meetings we're going to be talking about here. I'm going to go into detail for each type. The first type is task-oriented meetings. In these meetings, you're just trying to figure out who's going to do what and at what deadline. These are kind of like organizational meetings, making sure everybody's on point, on task. The second type of meeting is concept and development meetings. Now, these are longer meetings. These are meetings when we're talking about coming up with great ideas. This is when you're launching a new product. This is when you're trying to innovate in your business. And this is going to take a bit more time, and the nature of this meeting is going to be a bit different. I'm going to go into detail for each one right now. Let me start with the task-oriented meetings. Now, for these meetings, you want to keep them as short as possible. I recommend 15 minutes. I even think 30 minutes is too long, so 15 minutes is a good number, 15, 20 minutes max. Now, the nature of this meeting, again, is to see who's doing what. Who's going to take on this task? Let's take a look at all of our to-dos. Who's doing what on that list? So you don't need to have this meeting that often, but I do recommend you should have a task-oriented meeting at least once a week. That's the bare minimum. If your team's okay with it and you feel like you're dealing with a lot of tasks that week, you may want to meet more than that, maybe 15 minutes 3 times a week, maybe at the top of the week, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday morning, and at the end of the week. Where is everybody at? Has everybody met their deadlines? If not, can you get it done before the end of the day? If not, do you need some help? Maybe you can pass on some tasks to somebody else. And this is especially important if you're in crunch time, when you're trying to launch a product, when you have a very, very busy week. You may want to meet a couple of times, 3 times or something, just to touch base with everybody. In these meetings, you need to have somebody take minutes. That means take notes. And the best way to do this is let's say, for example, you have a team of 3 people. You just take turns. Somebody takes minutes this time, the next time, somebody else does it. And minutes doesn't have to be something that's very detailed. It just could be somebody writing, Omar's going to do this task by this deadline, and they share that document with the whole team. You can use Google Documents if you want to do that. And they're just simple bullet points. But you need to have somebody documenting what you're agreeing upon so you can refer to it later, so everybody knows their to-dos. So minutes are essential. The second thing is that somebody has to lead the meeting. And you could take turns on this as well. But somebody's got to have the responsibility of making sure you're staying on task and you're staying within the 15 or 20 minutes that you've allotted. The leader's job is to make sure that all the to-dos that are on the list are divvied up and everybody knows what they're doing and the questions are answered, and that we adjourn the meeting when it's time to end and we don't just dilly-dally and joke around. There's nothing wrong with having fun in the office, but sometimes you just need to get going and go to task on the tasks you have on that list. Now, I touched on this in the beginning, but if you have a virtual team, you have people working not in a physical space with you, they could be in another country, in another state, whatever it is, you need to meet with them just as much. They are your teammates. You have to try to meet with them as much as you can, whether you're using Skype or you're using, FaceTime on your iPhone. The point here is that you need to make sure that you're in contact and everybody knows what they're doing, so that once a week meeting with virtual teams is applicable as well. A great tool that we use in our business is called Slack. And Slack is a great way to communicate with your team and bridge between meetings. So if anybody needs any clarification or has any questions about their tasks, Slack is a great way to kind of just have a quick chat. And it's basically that. It's a chat software. And you can install it on your computer, you can install it on your mobile device. And it's a great way to keep in touch with each other. I think this is essential if you have a virtual team. Best of all, Slack is completely free. So go ahead and check that out. We'll put in a link in today's show notes so you can check out Slack. All right, let's move on to the second type of meeting, concept and development meetings. And you may want to do these once a month or as needed, but it might not be a bad idea to do it once a month regardless, to kind of touch base on your products and services and see how you can innovate and improve. Now, these meetings tend to be a bit longer, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I've had meetings that were concept and development meetings that were even 2 hours. And they seem to be longer, especially if it's the first time you're visiting an idea. So for example, when Nicole and I started to develop the idea of Webinar Ninja, that first meeting was quite long. Now, the format of this meeting is a bit different. Minutes are still taken, and there's still somebody leading the meeting. But now the leader's job is to ensure everybody is heard from, to make sure that all the ideas are explored. And you got to make sure that this is a safe place. There are no judgments when you're coming to concept and development meetings. There are going to be some great ideas, there's going to be some horrible ideas. But the point is that everybody's got to have the chance to just voice any ideas. The point is that you have the freedom to be creative and come up with ideas that normally wouldn't come out if you didn't feel safe and secure in that space. These meetings are more discussion-based, where the teammates are all discussing certain ideas one at a time. And when you're taking minutes with this meeting, you just want to list all these ideas, good and bad, and then later on, you can filter them out. But the point here is that it's kind of like a brain dump. You're just talking about things, you're thinking about new ideas, ways to develop things, and it's just an open discourse. These meetings tend to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more casual. And you want that. You want people to be relaxed, to be comfortable. Not like the other meetings are uptight. It's just that you want to be a little bit more driven with those meetings. You want to make sure that people are on task. Guys, I got more on today's lesson, but before that, I got to give love to today's sponsor, Vistaprint. Right now at Vistaprint.com, you can get 500 business cards for just $9.99 when you enter my promo code MBA at checkout. Having a business card is essential for any business. It's still the easiest way for people to check you out. It's the easiest way for you to just give them your information so they can learn more about you. And Nicole and I have been using Vistaprint for all our printing needs for years now, especially our business cards. And you could check out our business cards that we've made on Vistaprint in today's show notes. With Vistaprint, you can customize your text, colors, backside, and even your logo. You can even upgrade to a thicker stock and add a brilliant finish, or my personal favorite, the matte finish. We love Vistaprint and we want you to try them. So go to Vistaprint.com and enter my code MBA to get 500 business cards starting at just $9.99. That's up to 50% savings over the regular site price. It's a fantastic deal. Again, that's Vistaprint.com. Enter my code MBA at checkout and get 500 business cards for $9.99. Guys, I want to pass on a few more strategies before we wrap up today's lesson on how often you should have meetings. Meetings are important, but you have to schedule time for them. You got to put them in your calendar so you make sure they happen. So take them seriously. Make sure you put enough time. Make sure you're efficient with it. And make sure everybody knows when these meetings are so there's no surprises. Also, get feedback from the other team members how the meetings are going. Are these meetings too short? Are they too long? Are we meeting too much? Do you think we should meet more often? You need to kind of get feedback after a few times and adjust accordingly. Sometimes Nicole and I, if we're having a very busy week, we'll meet just for 5 minutes every single day that week in the morning just to go over what are you doing today, what am I doing today. Then we regroup at the end of the day and say, what have you done, what is left over, what we're going to do tomorrow. When it's not that busy of a week, we'll probably have less frequent meetings, maybe once or twice a week. You can adjust based on what's going on in your business at the moment. Now, you shouldn't be completely busy every single week. When I say busy week, I'm talking about once every few months. I know busy is a relative term, so make sure you're not meeting every single day because you feel like you're always busy. All right, guys, that wraps up today's lesson. I want to remind you, if you guys have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Just email us at contact@100mba.net, and we'll make sure to answer them right here on the show on Q&A weekends. Every weekend, we answer listener questions. This coming weekend, we have some great questions. One is, how do I come up with a minimal viable product when you want your business to be based around information? Another question on Sunday is, are blogs a necessary requirement to go along with a podcast? We get into those on Saturday and Sunday. We'd love to hear from you, so send in your questions. All right, guys, I want to leave you with this. When you're starting out, when you're growing your business, when you're in that first few years, as a business owner, you're doing a lot of things. You're juggling a whole bunch of things. When I say things, I mean responsibilities. You have to be a leader. You have to be a manager. You have to be a creator. You have to be the producer of the content. There's so much you're doing. So it's good to kind of just take a few seconds before you start a meeting or start a new task and say, all right, the purpose of this task right now is for me to be a leader, for me to be an organizer. Let me get in that mind frame. Sometimes you just got to do a reset because you're constantly going from one place to another, constantly changing hats. So you got to make sure you have the right hat on. As you start growing, you can start delegating, you can start having managers on your team, and it's a little less hectic. But if you're first getting started, just do this reset method I'm suggesting. Make sure you have the right hat on, make sure you have the right frame of mind before you start that next task. All right, guys, I hope that helps, and I hope to see you in tomorrow's episode, Free Ride Friday. Can't wait to check you then. Take care.